right now we turn to township politics, especially Bedford Township, where they will have an election to see who finishes the four-year term for supervisor. We have in our studio right now the current supervisor, Adam Heikkila. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning.
It was nice to see you here again. Also being challenged in that recall election by citizen Craig Dingman. Craig, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And also by trustee Randy Johnson. Randy, good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Nice to see you. And this, it's been in the news an awful lot. Adam, you were elected 2 years ago as a Republican to the there in Bedford Township. I guess maybe a bit of a departure. I mean, Bedford, going back to Bess Jordan, has been, I don't know, I guess would it be fair to say a Democratic stronghold?
Most certainly.
You know, in that township, but you were elected, and there's been some contention. There's been some, I guess, for lack of a better word, a little bit of strife at the board meetings and such, and that's resulted in a recall election. And so we're going to have that now. And under the rules, if the recall petition has enough signatures and is judged valid, as it has been, then we have a runoff to see who finishes the term. So, and we have all three of you in here today. Thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Let's I guess let's start. Craig Dingman, you initiated this recall petition.
Yes, sir.
And why exactly did you do this?
Well, the conduct and the performance of Mr. Heikkila, as was stated to him at meetings up until and through currently, people have problems with his not being in the office, not available. The fact that the police have been called to the township hall because of his actions and behavior towards the other office staff, demanding that office staff drop investigations against him. I mean, it's all police reports that we FOIA'd and documented, but it's just we don't agree with the way that he's representing the township, the way he's serving the people, and quite honestly not showing up to work.
And so you've thrown your hat into the ring to finish out the 2 years of the 4-year term.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, you're a police officer in Hastings.
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived in Bedford Township?
I've been in Bedford for 18 years, retired from Battle Creek Police after 25 years, and then went to work up in Berry County.
Okay. And you are running as an independent.
Yes, sir.
And Randy Johnson, you're already a member of the Board of Trustees over there. How long have you served on the Board of Trustees?
2 years now. Second term in 2 years.
And how long have you lived in Bedford Township?
19 years.
And we've actually had conversations with you before here because you know, you've interacted with our talk show host Rank on a number of occasions.
Yes,
we know you to be somebody who likes to get involved in community.
Yeah, and I've always tried to be fair about these things, and I've invited my friend Rank to different forums, and so I've been on this show maybe twice, and try to stay active in community politics. And
And you are running as a Democrat.
yeah, I am a Democrat.
You are a Democrat, and why do you want to throw your hat in the ring in this race?
Well, there's a lot of turmoil right now and lack of continuity in our township, and it's never really been like that before. Like I said, I've been out there 19 years, and we've always been like a family community, friends and family, and right now it's very contentious, and I think that I'm the person that can bring us back together. I've had a lot of lengthy experience in the public sector. Worked for the city of Battle Creek for 23 years as a seasonal and a full-time employee. Have a bachelor's degree from Siena Heights University with a concentration in public service administration. So I feel like I'm bringing some skills that the community can use, and I think I can mend some wounds and get us back on track the way we've always been out there.
How many people are on the Board of Trustees in Bedford Township?
In a charter township, it's required that we have 7.
So there are 7 elected people on the board that make the decisions for the township.
Yes,
Does that include the supervisor?
yes.
So the supervisor is one of those 7
With
positions.
7 positions, each man 1 vote. Each man or woman 1 vote.
I see. Okay. Well, Adam Heikkila, let's talk to you a little bit. Give us just a little background. You're like a local businessman, elected, as we said 2 years ago. This was your first foray into public office.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, I stepped up to run for office because, like many people, I got involved once I was affected by the township. A lot of people know me as the chicken guy, and I'll probably take that name to my grave now. But it wasn't to get chickens in my backyard why I ran. I ran because of the way I saw the township functioning. Members here have said that things have always been great in Bedford Township, but I have viewed decline in Bedford Township like we have in a lot of our municipalities for decades. We have lost services that we have previously provided. We have no funding or anything working for our parks and recreations for our residents. We currently are paying twice what we should be paying for our police contract. These are things that we need to focus on as residents. Me coming in 2 years ago did not start decline in any way, shape, or form in Bedford. We have had nothing but increase of activity, of participation, of information being shared with our residents. And I pledge to increase that. I have stepped that up over the last couple of months. And as far as my work performance, I've been put in a vice. As Mr. Dingman here stated, that they started to record things, but it wasn't recording things because I was actually doing wrong. They've recorded things so that they could use this narrative against me after 1 year when they could file this recall. And so many members in the office, the staff members that I've been trying to get to do things better, have all bonded against me. So they've bonded really against working against the residents of Bedford, because I have been focused solely on things of the functioning of the township, which is what my job and my role is as the top elected official. And so I haven't heard anyone else speak about it in that manner. And residents really need to recognize that.
Well, Craig, obviously filing the petition, you got accounts that probably go contrary to that from city staff or others that were on the board. What are they saying that led you to file the recall?
The reports that we FOIA'd and received, I feel sorry for anybody that believes we've been recording anything. All we did is collect the public documents that were there. When a almost 70-year-old woman has the police called because our supervisor is screaming in her face and making threats to her.
I'm sorry, but I got to interrupt.
We have a police report that documents that happened. Unless Mr. Heikkila is saying that the Battle Creek police are liars, that did happen, sir.
Were there any witnesses other than?
Yes, sir, there was. There was witnesses from the fire department and one of our township trustees that stood in the office, in their words, to protect the female employees until police arrived.
So, Adam, are you saying that they're lying or exaggerating?
Well, absolutely. So when I'll share the police reports, because it even states from the February 22nd report of this year, it even states that I never even raised my voice in that conversation. They claim that they called. They didn't even call the police while I was at the office on February 22nd. They called and filed a report after I had left, because they were doing that so that they could make it look like I had done wrong. Everyone in the office, I've made the mistake of not just sharing openly with the public fully all of the problems that I have seen internally in the office. And because of that, and because I've tried to do the political route of working with these people to just fix the wrongs that are happening, they have all bonded against me. This has to do with our fire department and the lack of planning, all the way to the point where we've given them 2 more mills, and at the next meeting our fire chief openly states that they have to figure out now where they're going to spend that money. You know, that is such a great concern to myself, and should be to residents. These are the things that I've been working internally with these members. and they have not chosen to fix them internally. And so instead, they want to remove me as the problem because it's going to expose a whole lot of things that is lacked. The proper work and development that our township residents truly deserve. And that's all that I've seen and focused on. And I've been attacked for that.
Let me get back to this police report and this. Was there an argument with this
It wasn't
official?
even an argument. I have asked.
What was the discussion
repeatedly.
about?
Well, the discussion was about sharing of information with our building and zoning administrator. Because me, as the head elected official in the township, who is in charge of the budget, who is in charge of personnel, who's in charge of knowing all equipment, everything happening in the township, I have to ask of these department heads to share information. I had simply asked last year. It's been almost a year since I asked to be copied on emails. If I was just copied on the emails of that department, I would know 90% of what's happening in that department. And there's no other communication between us that has to happen unless I have a question about something that's going on. I've been denied those things. I've asked of our clerk why our previous supervisor still comes in every month and is being paid with taxpayer dollars. And I've been denied up until recently, where she shared that he does the end of month book work for her still. And so these are things that I have not shared with the residents, because I don't want to make others look bad. I don't want to do that political attacks that everyone is doing against me. And I want residents to recognize what that looks like, and so they're going to make the right decision here for the residents.
We'll continue our discussion about Bedford Township with Craig Dingman, Adam Heikkila, and Randy Johnson in just a moment. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Battle Creek Community Foundation, for good, forever, and for all. And I want to ask about that the chicken incident too, and get to a little bit more of that when we come back here. 95.3 WBCK. Talking with the three candidates for the Bedford Charter Township Supervisor position. Craig Dingman, a police officer in Hastings, is running as an independent. Randy Johnson, who's already a trustee, is running as the Democrat. Adam Heikkila is the Republican incumbent supervisor who faces the recall after 2 years in office. Adam saying that basically the officials and at the township against him from the very start. Craig, you initiated this recall drive. I imagine that you talked to a lot of people who tell you a different story.
Yes, I mean, from speaking with township employees, citizens at the meetings, myself at the meetings, unfortunately, I don't see anything that Mr. Heikkila is telling us. Mr. Heikkila seems to have come in to pick fights with everybody in the group. I mean, when you show up to your first meeting and try to publicly fire one of the elected employees, that's not a way to start a relationship with, I want to come in and work with you.
Who are we talking about there?
Mrs. Shaw.
Okay, and Mrs. Shaw is, for those who aren't familiar with.
She is one of our elected township employees.
Okay, to which position?
She's a trustee.
She's a trustee. Okay, thank you, Randy. And Adam, what do you say to that?
She's also a paid employee as our building and zoning official.
Okay.
So that's the position. And so I say to that is that I'd like for the person that gave me that bad advice maybe out there to step up and speak out, because as I stated on my Facebook Live videos that I've been sharing, I, in this position, being an outsider, I've not known all of the ins and outs of what I'm to do. And anytime you're in a new position, you're going to be tasked to reach out to individuals that have been in your position, that know the ins and outs, to ask what to do or not to do. And I was given that advice. I was told to do it in that manner. And because of that, I am in that position. I would never have done that in that fashion if I understood at that time that that was incorrect. And so I have apologized for that. I have openly discussed that and have been honest and open about failures of myself. And I would also like to clarify that Mr. Dingman did not initiate a recall. Mr. Dingman was recruited by a committee of people. He openly stated on his Inquirer articles that he was asked by several people to step forward to do this. I'd also like to remind everyone that both of these members are previous employees and retirees of the city of Battle Creek, of which in our contract negotiations and disputes, we need people that do not have strong political ties, such as retirees from the city of Battle Creek. That creates a conflict. It's going to create a harder time for them to make the right decisions for Bedford Township when they have all the friends and relationships still there in their previous employer.
So are you referring specifically to the law enforcement contract with the city of Battle Creek?
Well, that we also have our sewer and water contract.
Okay.
There's some other conflicts that we have had in creating that sewer and water conflict, and we have some issues in that contract. And I will be disclosing and sharing all that at a later time. It's not the time for it now. So.
Randy Johnson, what about this police contract right now? Adam has stated we're paying twice what we should or need to for Bedford Township to be represented or protected by the Battle Creek City Police Department. Where are you on this as a trustee of Bedford?
Yeah, as a trustee, I support them, and if I become the supervisor, I would still support the contract. I'll tell you why I support the contract. We could get a vendor a cheaper service, but for what we get, for the dollars that we get, when you talk about forensics, the carpool maintenance that's not on us anymore, but it's on them to make sure they have vehicles that give us 24-hour patrol services. We have detectives. We have a 24-hour in our township, just like we were in the city of Battle Creek with an estimated 5-minute response time. It's a good deal for the money. And I don't really, I've looked at it. As a matter of fact, when I was on the board the first time, I was kind of in opposition to contracting with them and wanting to keep our own police department. But when you look at all the things that I just named off, it's much cheaper, and we're getting the same service out there in Bedford as we would if we were part of Battle Creek.
Does your history as an employee of the city have any bearing at all on your decisions that you make with these types of matters?
Well, I know people, so I have a working relationship, and I think that if you're going to be part of a community, you should have a working relationship, and I know a guy I can call. So I keep a working relationship, but if I'm going to be the supervisor, I'm going to take and do the job according to me. But I don't have any qualms about having relationships and knowing people in Bedford Township, Emmett Township, or the city of Battle Creek. Relationships and associations I would think is a plus.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the incident of raising chickens. Is it fair to say that this, I mean, you stated, Adam, that this made you decide to get involved in township politics. You wanted to raise chickens on some property and were denied a permit. Is that how it went at Bedford?
Well, what happened was I was given a letter to remove my chickens originally. And so I went into the office with that knowledge of that I had 14 days originally to get rid of my chickens. And so I spoke with Sally Shaw, our building and zoning administrator, and she wrote a notation on that, giving me an extension for 2 months. She also wrote on that letter that she would help to write a new ordinance. At the time, I'd asked her if she would let me know the process, what had to happen to make the change so I could keep my chickens. And that's when she offered to help write it. She also didn't know when the next planning commission meeting was at the time, which I thought was weird. But she said she would contact me at the time and let me know when it was. The following month, I received another letter stating that they're not going to change the ordinance and I had to remove my chickens. I no longer had my extension that she had given me. So ultimately, she was created a gray area where she was giving authority, giving a change, but then also removed that change, all within her position. I didn't feel that was right, and so I started questioning at that time, how is the township functioning? And so I started digging deeper and looking into our functioning. At the planning commission meetings, I was not allowed to speak. I was actually told that we were simply there to watch them do work. And you can go through the history and see that on our planning commission meetings, we do not have, and we do not run them properly by the Open Meetings Act. So I'll openly state that because it's things that residents can look for and understand that what I'm telling you is the truth. That we didn't even have a public comment time on our regular planning commission meetings until I joined the township.
Okay, so
Those are the things why I ran.
all right. And then once you were elected, Craig, one of the reasons for the recall petition has to do with an allegation that he directed staff to overlook the ordinance, or could you clarify that?
The report made with the state police was when Mr. Heikela demanded that Mrs. Shaw drop the ordinance violation complaint against him. And when he was told that she can't do that, it's inappropriate, it's inappropriate for him to ask that, I believe I was told his quote was, it's simple, just make the phone call. Which
I don't know.
Which again is inappropriate. It was already submitted to the prosecutor's office to review.
Did you tell Mrs. Shaw that it's simple, just make the phone call?
Not in any way. So in my first days in office, I was so nervous. I still had my chickens, and I had a date. I believe it was actually the next day that I had to have my chickens by the court order removed from my property. And my chickens were not removed from my property yet, and I was still finding somewhere that I could move my chickens to. So I sat down and asked her when they were coming out to take pictures of my property so that we could work together, so that if I had to go till the weekend to get my chickens gone, that I would have my chickens gone. Now, by that afternoon from that morning conversation with her in the office, I had members from other communities calling me, telling me that they were filing something against me, that I was trying to do something to remove this, which I was completely shocked. I didn't know. So then the next day I got a call from the Michigan State Police. I'd like to ask them if I actually did something wrong and they have evidence of it. Why were charges not filed? Why was something and an action not taken? Because that's the important factor here. Again, they're claiming all of these reports that they have filed prove wrongdoing of some form. But I'm telling you that all it proves is their narrative that they have wanted to create to tell their story, to remove me so that I no longer can expose all of the functioning that needs to be corrected in Bedford Township.
When we come back, I want to let each of you just have the floor for a couple of minutes to talk about why you want to be the supervisor of Bedford Township and what you would do, and we'll do that when we come back in just a moment. 8:39, this portion of the program brought to you by Bronson at Home. We're talking with Adam Heikela, the current Bedford Charter Township Supervisor, also trustee Randy Johnson, who is running to become the supervisor, and Craig Dingman, also who's running to become the supervisor in the recall election. Randy Johnson, just tell us in a couple of minutes, what you think about all of this controversy and what Bedford needs and why you think you're the guy to help things out.
Well, Tim, I'll tell you, I don't see all the doom and gloom and corruption and everything is broken out in Bedford Township. I see it's a great community with family and friends, and we've always been able to get along out there. And I know that should I get in that office, I'll bring my skills to pull our community back together. You see, Bedford, I feel like, and if I become the supervisor, I'm going to make sure. I feel like we have the finest volunteer fire department in the whole state. If I'm the supervisor, I'm going to make sure they got the equipment and the technology that we need to keep them safe and to make sure that they can keep us safe. A lot of people out in Bedford are baby boomers, half of the community, and we think about our health, and we need those type of services out there. I also want to make sure that Bedford is a corporate-friendly community. So when people come in and they talk about putting in the distribution center, they won't always think about south on Beckley Road. They might think about doing it out there in Bedford. Same thing if realtors in the subdivision. And We have a lot of property out there. We've got a golf course out there. We got a beautiful lake, Wabascon Lake, where people can fish and pleasure ride the lake. We got another lake, St. Mary's Lake. If I become the supervisor, I'm going to make sure that I work diligently with Sally Shaw, who's over our roads and has a comprehensive road plan to make sure our roads are maintained and properly kept up to date in the 5-year comprehensive plan that the county that we work in conjunction with. So like I said, I don't see a lot of doom and gloom. I think I'm going to build on what we already have, and once we get continuity back in there, Bedford is just a great place to be. Now, me, I am an unapologetic Democrat. You know people know what I'm about, what my core values are. I believe in Brown versus the Board of Education, the Civil Rights Act of 1965, and the women's right to vote. Excuse me, a woman's right to choose. And in this climate, you look around, especially this Me Too thing that's out there. You know, women by certain parties have been sort of under attack. And when they come forward, people automatically go against them by certain parties. It's even happening out there in our township. Women come forward and they get victimized and say they're lying. And all that kind of stuff I'd like to see changed.
If you're elected supervisor for the final 2 years of this term, will you run again after that?
I'd have to think about it then.
Okay.
I'm a senior citizen guy, so I don't know.
Fair enough. Adam Heikkila, tell us about the state of Bedford and your final thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not talking about doom and gloom in any way. I'm talking about the facts. People are talking, want to talk about facts. Facts are what we can see that has happened, that's been documented, that is proven. The things internally that we lack in the township is a fact. The fact is that our master plan is not up to par. The fact is that we do not have the planning for our fire department. I've been doing my best and working with them for the last year to get that planning activated, but because of the obstruction, it's been difficult. I will openly share when I'm reelected all of the obstruction and all of the issues that I have seen, because it's for the positive. It's not for doom and gloom. In the last 2 years, we have had more things happening and changing in Bedford Township than I've ever seen, that many residents have ever seen. Just recently, yesterday, I had another resident reach out to me that said that they and their large group of friends do not want to see Bedford Township go back to the leadership or the lack of leadership that we have had until I arrived. You know, the fact is that things have been recorded that have not been that have not been proven. The only thing that things have been recorded for has been to be used against me. That is a fact. If there was any other validation of accusations or things that have been filed, something would have been done. But there was no wrongdoing. So I will continue the progress. I will continue to share with the residents of Bedford Township and increase our transparency. I truly believe that with residents fully knowledgeable of how we are functioning, we're going to be growing by leaps and bounds of other communities around us. But we have to release those reins from the politicians that have control.
And Adam, if the voters do maintain confidence in you and keep you in office, would you consider running again? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I've told everyone in Bedford Township that I will expect to do 3, maybe 4 terms, because some of the projects and ideas that I have are going to be long-term things that need to be accomplished, and I want to see them through. I want to make sure that they get done for the residents.
Craig Dingman, your thoughts, final thoughts on all of this, what you think the township needs and what you want to do, your plans.
Well, from my history here in Bedford Township, we're a beautiful township. We have everything that somebody would want. If you want to live in a country rural setting, we have that. If you want to live in a beautiful country but neighborhood setting, we have that. We have all the developmental space available that a business would want. We just need to better promote ourselves. And that's what I will do when I'm elected, is I promote Bedford Township. We have people looking past us, looking to Kalamazoo County, to go to places to live, to then come to work in Battle Creek and Kellogg's and Post. And there's no reason for that. We have such a beautiful area. We just need to promote ourselves, and that's not been done. Also, we need to bring back the relationships to our community and within our township government. Right now, there's such a sense of hostility and discord that nothing is being done. These projects that are spoken of, they're not happening. There's nothing happening in Bedford that wasn't set forth before. Have I worked in the public sector my entire adult life? Yes, absolutely. And what that gives me is a sense of community, of relationships. I can reach out and speak to people that I've known from the past. And I don't have any problem accepting other people's advice and asking people for help. And that's what we need in our township. We need to reach out to people. We need to get ideas. We need to bring people in to work in our community. We need to get people to work with us to improve our community. And all my experience for my entire adult life has been in public service, and it's been helping people. It's never been taking advantage of people or trying to pull one over. It's been reaching out to the public and helping. And that's what I want to do. That's all I want to do, is bring some civility back to it.
And would you continue past 2 years if you were elected?
Absolutely. I still think I have a lot of work life left in me, and I wish to do it in my community where I live.
Craig Dingman, the Independent, Randy Johnson, Democrat, Adam Heikla, Republican. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope for only the best for Bedford Charter Township.
Thanks for
Thank you,
inviting
sir.
us.